Ever get that feeling? Like when everyone's talking, but nobody's really listening?
Yeah, like we're just talking past each other.
Right. Wouldn't it be amazing if our teams could just click, ideas flowing, everyone on the same page?
It's the dream, right? A team that's totally in sync.
Totally. And that kind of brings us to today's deep dive. We're checking out this consultancy, Let's Talk. They're all about transforming how teams communicate.
And they've got the experience. I mean, they've worked with everyone from these tiny startups to really big companies.
Seriously, their client list is impressive. But here's what I find interesting. They're not about just talking the talk. They're all about giving you real strategies, stuff you can use right away.
Yeah, they emphasize practicality, which makes sense. You don't want some vague advice. You want to see results.
Exactly. And you know what I appreciate? They don't shy away from the tough stuff. They come right out and say a lot of workplace problems, they come down to communication.
It's true. Think about all the projects that go sideways because someone misinterprets something.
Ugh, don't even get me started. But it's bigger than just avoiding mistakes.
Way bigger. Let's Talk argues that if you nail communication, you unleash innovation, productivity, even that entrepreneurial spirit everyone wants.
That's huge. But before we go too far, let's talk about the people behind it all. Let's Talk was started by this woman, Christine Michaelis. Now, this is where it gets interesting. She also founded the Creative Startup Academy.
Oh, interesting. So she's not just teaching this stuff, she's living it,
Exactly.
which makes their whole approach, well, more credible. They're not just coming at it from some theoretical angle, it's coming from real experience.
Right. It's about building a culture where new ideas can actually flourish.
Hmm.
Which I wonder, does that tie into why they emphasize co-creation so much in their training? I saw that on their website.
Good catch. Co-creation.
Mm-hmm.
That probably means they work directly with you,
Mm-hmm.
digging into your specific company culture, the way your teams work.
So it's not some generic workshop they're peddling.
Right. They want to tailor it to what you need, not just offer some off-the-shelf solution.
It's like they're saying, let's get our hands dirty and figure out what makes your company tick.
Exactly. And speaking of seeing what works, maybe we should check out what their clients are saying. Those testimonials can be pretty telling.
Okay, let's hear what people are saying. We've got a creative director raving about how Christine's workshops totally changed how their team brainstorms.
That's a good sign.
Then there's this person, Zainab, who feels way more confident speaking up in meetings now.
It's interesting, right? You're seeing those tangible results already.
Right. And get this, David Bell, a CEO, been doing this for 20 years, calls Christine an industry expert. He even says her knowledge is simply amazing.
Wow. When a seasoned CEO like that is impressed, you know they're onto something.
Totally. This isn't some newbie manager. This is someone who's seen it all.
Exactly. And it's not just big names either. One thing I noticed, a lot of the testimonials mention real, tangible changes. People are more motivated, things are clearer, and there's this boost in confidence.
It's clear these clients are seeing some serious results.
Yeah, it seems like Let's Talk is onto something.
Totally. But there's this one phrase they use that I keep coming back to, unlocking the entrepreneurial spirit.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
What does that even mean? Like, how does that play out in the real world?
So based on everything we're seeing, it seems like they believe that by making communication better, you're not just, preventing misunderstandings.
It's deeper than that.
Right. You're actually building a foundation for employees to think more creatively, to take ownership, bring new ideas to the table, no matter their position.
So it's less about like dictating from the top down and more about empowering people at every level.
Exactly. It's about creating an environment where everyone feels comfortable sharing their thoughts and ideas and feeling heard.
It makes you think how much potential is probably being wasted out there just because people either don't feel comfortable speaking up or they don't have the opportunity to.
Absolutely, and that's a loss for everyone involved, the individuals and the organization as a whole.
It's like they're saying this doesn't have to be the case, like we have the tools and strategies to fix it.
Exactly. Let's Talk provides those communication tools and frameworks that can help organizations break down those barriers and create a more open, innovative environment.
Which brings me to another thing that really stood out to me. They emphasize putting what you learn into action right away.
Oh, absolutely. No sitting through a workshop and then forgetting everything.
It's more like, okay, here's what you learned, now go do it.
Exactly. And that's how people learn best, by actually using the information.
It's like those aha moments stick with you.
They do. It shows a real understanding of how adults learn.
Okay, so we've talked about the why behind Let's Talk, but what about the how? Like what actually happens in one of their workshops?
That's a great question. And while we don't have all the specifics, we can look for clues in their messaging and their client feedback.
Kind of like we're piecing together a puzzle.
Right. Remember they emphasize co-creation. What do you think that looks like in a workshop setting?
It can't just be death by PowerPoint, right?
Definitely not. It sounds much more engaging, working through real-life scenarios and challenges and coming up with solutions that are tailor-made for your team.
So you walk away with practical tools and strategies that you can use the next day.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the workshops Let's Talk. Has been around for more than 20 years. They've clearly adapted and evolved with the times.
They haven't just survived, they've thrived. That's impressive.
Absolutely.
Mm.
It means their approach has stood the test of time, which is pretty remarkable in today's ever-changing business world.
And especially now with the rise of remote and hybrid work, the way we communicate has changed so much.
It has. It's a whole new ballgame.
It makes you wonder how Let's Talk approaches this new world of work.
It seems like they're very aware of these new challenges and the need for communication strategies that work, whether you're in the office or working from home.
It's about bridging that gap between physical and virtual spaces.
Exactly. Speaking of bridging gaps, Let's Talk highlights three main areas on their website. Unlocking that entrepreneurial spirit we were talking about, then crafting leaders, and connecting teams.
They're all connected, aren't they?
Definitely. They're like pieces of the same puzzle. You can't have strong leaders without strong teams, and you can't have strong teams without effective communication.
It's about creating this culture of collaboration where everyone feels connected and working towards the same goal.
Precisely. It's about breaking down those silos that can exist in organizations and creating an environment where information flows, ideas are shared, and people feel empowered to contribute their best work.
It's like you're building a company where everyone feels like they're really part of something.
Yeah, exactly. And that shared understanding, it leads to better decisions, you solve problems faster, and ultimately, it just makes for a more successful and fulfilling experience for everyone.
That's the kind of company I want to work for. But it all starts with taking that first step, right? So for our listeners who are thinking, this is it, this is what we need, what's their next move?
Well, I'd say a good place to start is their website. Let's Talk has a blog, tons of articles about communication, leadership, building a strong culture.
It's like a free crash course.
Exactly. And it's all free. They're not hiding anything behind a paywall or anything. Plus, they actually encourage people to reach out directly if they're serious about making a change.
So you can just schedule a call, chat with their team.
Exactly. You can talk about your specific challenges, see if what Let's Talk offers is a good fit.
It's like they're saying, we're confident in what we do. Let's talk and see if it's right for you.
Exactly. And, admitting that your company needs help with communication, it takes some guts. But Let's Talk seems to get that. They make it feel safe to have those conversations.
It's not about placing blame. It's about getting better.
Right, exactly. Because even small changes, they can have a huge impact.
They can create a ripple effect.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Let's Talk, there's one thing I want our listeners to remember. It's a communication. It's not just some skill set or something you check off a list.
Bigger than that?
It's the foundation for everything. Strong teams, successful companies, it all comes down to communication.
It's like that saying, communication is key.
It really is. And as you go through your day, just pay attention to how you're communicating. Are you being clear? Are you really listening to what others are saying? Are you creating an environment where people feel safe to speak their minds?
Those are great questions to ask yourself.
Because those little adjustments, those small shifts in awareness, they can make a huge difference in your interactions and in the overall success of your team and your organization.
So take a moment, be mindful, and remember, clear communication is the key to unlocking your team's full potential.